My feeling is that most centers already do some imaging of the optic nerve. Visual evoked potentials were in the very early phases of MS criteria, so it's a very well established technique, widely available worldwide. OCT is perhaps the most recent method, but is extremely quick, does not require contrast, so it is very easy to acquire. I think again it's more a matter of getting used to and to mix and match whatever you have available for each case that you need to make the diagnosis. I think a huge update is that we are moving from a clinical diagnosis to the diagnosis of a biological disease. And this can be easily seen in two different aspects of the criteria. First of all, radiological isolated syndrome, which was basically a description of MRI findings, can be diagnosed as MS in some specific cases where we are able to demonstrate that there is biological disease. And the same applies to the sets of criteria that we use for relapsing and progressive onset MS. Over the past decades, we have had two different sets of criteria, but we have different clinical presentations, but biologically speaking, the disease is the same. And again, this is it's a little change for clinical practice, but it's a huge change in terms of our understanding of the disease, in terms of our interpretation of the disease.
Which obviously, hopefully, will then help to improve how we manage it.
Yes. We need to be extremely pragmatic in this because each country has different access to treatments. So I don't think that the criteria will change access to treatment. I've been practicing over the past year in two different healthcare systems that allow universal coverage, but we have specific criteria for prescribing treatments. The US is insurance-based, so based on the insurance you have, you get access to different treatments. So I don't think we can change this in the short term, but definitely we can start a change that goes towards the direction of the prevention of the clinical disease. Another novelty that I really like of this set of criteria is that with the past criteria, you were doing MRI plus GAD and oligochronal bands. Here we actually have a set of tools, which is MRI. You can add to the MRI GAD, you can add to the MRI SWI sequences or other sequences for central vein sign and paramagnetic rim lesions. You can imaging the optic nerve using different modalities. You can do two different analyses on the CSF and serum to demonstrate brain inflammation. So actually here we have a combination of tools, and I think this flexibility is a huge novelty in the new set of criteria.
It's funny because I've heard so many people describe them as very complicated, and while they are, there's a lot going on. I do think that that's a key point, right, is that we're hopefully expanding that diagnostic toolbox. And I think that's a nice change because it's kind of catching up with the fact that we have this massive treatment toolbox as well. So it's an excellent point.
No, totally agree with you. I understand any change is generally speaking felt as complicated, something super complicated, but I think we need to avoid unnecessary complications. There is no reason of doing everything to everyone. We need to pick the tools that we need for each specific person with suspected MS based on each specific setting. So it's a case-by-case decision.